Quick note before we start. This lesson was recorded in 2020 for my Russian-speaking students and translated with AI so I can make more videos for you. Please support the channel with likes, comments, and subscriptions. New lessons are on Patreon. There's nothing especially hard about this drawing. We just need to really look at how the stones actually look. See, each stone has a part that touches the surface and a part that lifts up. Every stone has its own shape. Some rise higher, some lower. On this side, the slope is steeper, on that side it's softer. On this one, I can mark a little grey vein running through the stone. Look at the reference photo and try to match the stones to each other as closely as you can. Each next stone is smaller than the previous, but from one side it sticks out less. From another side, the gap grows. We can take a little artistic freedom, of course, but we still have to keep the stack believable. The stones have to sit on each other, so we can't build the whole tower leaning off to one side. It needs balance. This stone is standing in an interesting way. Let's make one of them a bit thicker, like a little potato. This one sticks out too much for me. I'll check it from above for a second. This motif looks better on a rectangular sheet. More impact. All right, let's start painting the stones. I'll begin at the top so my hand doesn't smear anything. In watercolor, I recommend starting at the top whenever possible. No matter what you paint on, gravity will make things run downward. Our top stone is white. Try to paint the edges cleanly, work carefully with the brush, and don't go over the outlines. I wet it first. The first layer is wet in wet. This stone has a bluish-violet tint. Here I'll also float in a very pale wash along this contour, not taking it all the way to the edge. Leave the very edge white. That's our little reflected highlight with a tiny violet shimmer. That's how I see it. Keep the rim white for that reflex. There's also a yellowish shadow. I'll take ochre for that. Maybe nudge it with the same blue just a touch. Softly blend it out. I'm still finding the balance. Okay, that's enough. Just a whisper of colour. Next stone. It has a beautiful blue tone. We need to mix the right shade. We'll also go wet in wet. If your paper dries quickly, mix your colour first, then wet the shape. I'll take blue, add a tiny bit of green, just a touch, and a hint of brown. I think this mix will work. I'm filling the whole stone. It's quite saturated overall. Even where you see white stripes, they aren't really white. They're greyish. If you want those bands, just lift a little paint with a clean brush. Across all the stones we'll have the same logic. This area and this area are lit, so they should stay lighter. Light hits there. And here we go a bit darker. Under this stone there's a cast shadow. Stones have relief. They're smooth, but not glossy. There are tiny dents and bumps. So keep the shadows a bit broken. Let them echo the stone's texture, not perfectly flat. I'll add some darker accents. For shadows, I'm mixing blue with a warm brown. I get a cool grey. Our light here is warm, so a cooler shadow fits. I'll use this grey for all the shadows. And I'll pass over the shadows again to deepen them. Here I had a puddle that already dried. I wipe my brush and, with a dry brush, gently pull just the edges of that tide mark so we don't get a hard contour. You can also reinforce a thin shadow line with a small brush if you want that crisp edge. Same here. A bit darker still. The wash dried back, and I feel it needs more blue. I'll go in with a nearly dry brush, light strokes, to build a bit of texture right away. Almost a dry brush. There are also some beige little veins here. I'll nudge the colour where it feels a bit empty. One more pass in the shadows, and we move on. The next stone is like granite, speckled texture. I'll show you a dry technique for that, but we'll start wet. I'm mixing a colour, something in the ochre family, maybe with a hint of violet so the ochre isn't too buttery. I fill the whole stone with a light, even tone. Even while it's wet, I'm tapping in texture with a stippling motion, not smoothing but breaking it up with little dots. It's all flowing right now, which I don't love, but that's fine. You can also drop in some brighter spots here and there. This side will stay quite light. Of course, the shadow will still come across. You can scatter a few dark specks. While it's wet, they'll spread, but even those blooms create a sense of grain. Where the black dots fell, while it's still damp, not bone dry. I'll touch them with a thin brush, still working wet. Once it's dry, we'll get crisper dots, and I want some fairly large ones, so I'm leaving the dry areas alone for now. A few more accents. Now I take a stiff synthetic brush, one you don't baby too much, and start pouncing lightly with a dry brush. It's a bit scruffy, which is perfect. With these tapping motions, I add variety to the texture. Let me check the stone. I think I'll add a bit more colour here, and deepen the value a touch. Okay, I'll bring it closer, see the texture we're getting. Next stone is greyish. We had a warm one. This will be a cooler grey. The sun just went behind a cloud. Colours probably shifted, right? For grey, I mix ochre with violet. Add a bit of blue if you want it cooler. On this stone, the plane break is very clear, so we'll push the contrast. The edge of that turn goes here, so I'll bring in more dark on this side. I'll drop that in, and maybe a bit more. I like these volumes now. I'll add a few grasses, or rather, little mossy tufts, and some tiny stripes and marks. I'll also pass with a dry, clean brush around where the grasses are, and add a hint of green here and there. A light glaze from above as well. Same dry brush pull on the shadow edge, lifting it slightly. That's what I meant. Shadows should carry texture too. Shadows sell the stone's texture even more than the light areas do. That's enough. We'll call it good. Next stone is bright, ochre. This one is almost the same colour, very close to that one. I'll add a breath of green. There's a little greenish note there. Now the background. Before the background, I wet the whole area. I'll switch to a smaller brush around the stones. I'm going for a violet-grey mood, some distant pebbles back there. Here's the horizon. I'll lift it just a bit near this stone.